they're gonna both, if they're both sitting there looking like, would it be better to change this angle a little bit?
Entrepreneurs think differently. We despise average. We understand that business is a game, and it's either beat the game or be beaten by it. Only uncommon advice can give you what you need to win. Now here's your host, Nate Kennedy.
So, let's go. Nate Kennedy here, another episode of Uncommon Advice. I'm joined here today with the Mathis twins. They are wealth creators. They own a multi-million-dollar real estate investment firm, and it hasn't always been that way. They weren't an overnight success, but we're going to dive into that today. So, guys, I want to start off. You guys got a unique and inspiring story, frankly. I mean, we've had the opportunity to spend a lot of time together over the last couple of years, right? So more time, I guess, in our virtual entrepreneur world. But so I want to start with this. You guys have done a ton of real estate deals, and many over the years. You guys, obviously, that's not where you started. We'll get into kind of the past to that. But the first question being, you got into a lot of real estate deals. Many unique ones, and you actually were just recently telling me how you bought the property that your grandfather was murdered in front of.
Yeah.
What was the purpose of that? What was the?
I'll take that one. So my grandfather got killed at that property in 2011, right?
No,
2001. I'm sorry, 2001, 2002. He got killed at the property, and at the time, we were in the 5th grade, so we didn't know anything about real estate, and it was an income-producing property, so my grandmother kept it going, but it became too burdensome for her, so she ended up just, closing the doors, and the property just sat vacant for a while, and she was going to just let it go to the tax auction, but she was like, hey, guys, if you guys want to buy it, you could just go ahead and buy it for the tax amount, and I'll give it to you. So it sat vacant for 10 years, and at the time, we were in college. We knew nothing about real estate, didn't know anything about owning anything at that point, and she allowed us to buy the property. I think at that time it was like for 17 grand or 18 grand. And at that point we took all the money that we had in life savings, and we took out a loan, student loan, to get up the money and buy the property. So we ended up buying it, and we had no plans on doing anything with it. We didn't know what to do with it, but thankfully we had mentors in our life that was like, hey guys, there's some great opportunity here. The airport at the time was expanding, and Amazon was bringing 2,000 jobs, like literally down the street from where we were building. So they was like, man, the value of the property can go up as well. So we ended up buying that property. We went through a whole, for maybe 6 years, it just sat vacant. And we got fine after fine from the city because the grass kept growing, boarded up the windows because the kids kept breaking the windows. We got in contact with a mentor. He told us, the steps that we should take to go ahead and redevelop the property, and now it's an income producing property for us.
Oh, she still own it to this day?
Yeah. So we owned it for, like I said, 7 to 8 years before we did anything to it.
Yeah.
Mentor said, hey man, you guys can redevelop this. So it was a single family house that we ended up redeveloping into a triplex, and now we make really good money from it. We finished the development maybe 2 years ago.
This year.
Yeah, it was been a year and a half.
Yeah,
but we got it rented. We finally got it rented at the beginning of this year.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, that might be the best use of a college loan that I've heard of.
Oh, definitely.
A lot of people with college loans now asking for forgiveness.
Right.
You guys flipping college loans into real estate deals. That's that money arbitrage, right? Like we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah, he still actually owes on the loan. I still do owe something.
I got to pay that off.
Right.
Free clear. You sign up here. That's crazy. So you guys are both family men, which I love about you, man. I mean, you got your kids and all that, and we've had the opportunity to talk about sports and raising kids and fatherhood and all that, right? Because the book that we read when they're born won't really tell us anything, right? Anything that really gonna happen. So what I recently also learned about you guys was that because of what you guys mentioned yesterday was that you actually your dad was locked up. Your grandfather was your father figure, right? Mm-hmm. And your dad was locked up for a while and wasn't quite there. So when your grandfather went through that, you guys lost him there. You guys were what, 12?
We were 12 when my grandfather got killed, like 11, 12. Yeah.
And so you kind of went that space there without the father figure, and you guys have turned into phenomenal dads. And how has that shaped you, like in your desire to be good dads and whatnot, right?
I think number one, not having like a real dad growing up, it for me personally, it has made me want to be very, very active in my kids' life. So I think it turned out to be a plus for me. And then also just having the right foundation. My mom, I think she did an amazing job with us in helping us understand the importance of family. I think some people don't understand the importance of it until it's too late. So for us, we've been blessed and fortunate to understand how important that is. And it's just been something that we hang our hats on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can agree 100% with that, man. My mom was, though we didn't have a father figure, my mom did an amazing job. She was mom, dad, and everything else to us. And she gave us the example of, because when you really think about being a father, it boils down to, you're the priest, provide and protect over your home. And though my mom wasn't a man, she showed us how, you're supposed to operate as a parent. So those are lessons that we've taken and that we've instilled into our lives and that we want to instill into our kids as well.
So you said, what was the first one?
A priest, the provider, and the protector.
Priest, the provider, and protector.
I think as a man, those are the three basic rules that you need to live by, especially as a father or, the head of the household. You're a priest over your home, you provide and you protect your family. And then there's always some extras behind that, but those are the main, for me at least, the main things that I lay my hat on and what I focus on at home.
Yeah, I love it. That's uncommon advice right there. So, another thing is, so you guys have such an interesting array of friends too, right? Like last year, you flew around the country and went to a bunch of different NFL stadiums to hang out with your friends. Because you guys grew up playing sports like a bunch of us have. You guys just happen to be in a pocket in an area, and then apparently they make great athletes, right? You guys have a handful of guys come out that are in the NFL and stuff. So, with that, you guys, as you're doing that, what is it growing up in that neighborhood and playing football with those kind of guys?
It was. I think the biggest thing that it did for us is taught you to be competitive and always bet on yourself.
Yeah.
Like when you're growing up, when we grew up, it's you're not better than me, and it wasn't even like an arrogant thing. Some people would take it as being arrogant, but it was just like we were brave to be extremely confident in ourselves and our ability, and to realize that if Nate can put on his pants, Nate puts his pants on the same way I do, and if I cut Nate, his blood is going to be red. So for us growing up, that was just ingrained in us to be competitive and to always just bet on ourselves.
Yeah, so for us, we grew up in a tough neighborhood. But for us at the time, I didn't know it was the ghetto or the hood, so to speak. So for us,
it was home.
Yeah, it was home. Yeah. And home, and it still is home. My mom still lives there. She's not going anywhere. But as far as those friends, like you said, it taught us to be competitive. Like, at the time, we were going up against some of the best athletes in the country on a daily basis. So it helped us to grow and just to shape our mind and say, hey, if he can do it, I can do it as well. So for us, it didn't, we didn't play professional sports like some of our friends, but I take that same mentality into the business world, and I'm competitive. Like we collaborate with people, but I want to be the best at everything that I do. So
it's funny as it leads into the next question is, because our society, right? What do? We prop up athletes, we prop up celebrities, and all through America, and it's like everyone's trying to be the next great. And it's interesting because when I was taking notes and writing things down to be ready for today to ask these questions, it was the competitiveness, right? So you guys took that competitive nature that you learned from sports and put it into the business.
Yeah, sure.
And then you guys set a lofty goal, right? As I mentioned earlier, you guys are wealth creators, not only for yourselves, but you guys have a goal of creating 1,000 millionaires through the education and knowledge that through the knowledge you've gained by educating them, other people, to become millionaires.
Yep.
Why such a lofty goal?
I think the biggest thing in life, when you really think about life, I think you don't do life for yourself. I think you do life for others. And I think you take your experiences and you share your experiences with the world. I think that's really what life is about. So for us, when we think about legacy, when we think about impact, like that's what we think about. How can we impact the world and help people? So for us, when we think about that, it's like, you know what? We want to help 1,000 people become millionaires. And it is a lofty goal, but I think it's doable, especially in the world that we live in, with social media and with so much access to people. For us, I just think it makes sense.
So yeah, no, I agree. For us, man, our goal has always been to help people.
Yeah.
Since and my mom displayed that into us because we've always seen that example.
Yeah.
So if you see that every day, it's more than likely that's who you become. So for us, I've seen my mom help people our entire life. So for us, it's just ingrained in us to want to help people. And we feel as though God has blessed us to be in the position that we are. It's only right that we share that with other people and help them build and create wealth for their families.
But that's important. As like what he said, my mom taught us that. Like she didn't even try to intentionally teach us that. We just saw her always helping people, always wanting to be a giver. So I think it's important for parents to make sure that they're showing great examples for their kids, because people always ask us, where do you get your work ethic from, and where do you guys get your leadership skills from? And I really had to think about that when I sat down with my therapist. I started realizing, like, I just saw my mom I just saw her lead. Anytime it was something to do at church or with the family, my mom was the first one to just stand up and get things done. She was a leader. So I saw that, and now it's ingrained in us. Now it's just like, okay, I saw her be a leader. I saw her help people. I saw her change lives. It's ingrained in me to do that. So,
Yeah, man, that's the key thing there too. It's impact and legacy.
Yeah.
You guys mentioned at the very beginning, and kids are always watching, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think sometimes we fail to realize that. We get moving. We were talking about phones, right?
Yeah.
Kids are always watching,
Yep.
and they learn by watching, and so your actions speak louder than your words. That whole thing, you know. My mom used to say that to me all the time. I'm like, "What are you talking about, Mom?" Now, like, oh, I get it. I got kids. So,
would you even think about the example when you could have got into an argument with another man and you stepped in, you kept your composure.
Yeah.
Now your kid sees that, he realizes that, okay, when I have some type of confrontation in my life, I don't have to react like an idiot.
Yeah.
I remember somebody, I think Jay-Z said this, if somebody's looking through a window and you both are arguing, nobody can tell who's wrong. You both look like idiots. So for me, when I think about that, and when you said that yesterday, it's like you're setting that example.
Okay.
Hey, then when something happens in life, you don't have to react how somebody else acts. You can control your reactions. He just saw that from you. Now he knows that he can model that. So it's very important that parents show their kids how they should live. So
yeah, absolutely. That just talk.
yeah, facts.
So another, I know it was ingrained now that you've had success. Let's talk a little bit about, we mentioned impact and legacy, but you always, what I find is a lot of entrepreneurs don't always feel that way in the start.
Yeah.
It's not about giving back. It's usually, we're so focused on just driving the mission and getting revenue in the door.
Yeah.
At what point did you always want to give back and create 1,000 millionaires, or along the journey did you guys realize at some point this is what we're comfortable, we've made it, obviously we're driving for more, because as entrepreneurs, are we ever really comfortable? And then was there a moment where you're like, you know what, now it's time, I feel like we're in a position to be able to do this?
I think for us, it's always been a part of us, but also understanding that the first law of human nature is self-preservation. You got to take care of self before you can take care of others. So, we've always wanted to help people, but I think you need to be in a position to be able to help people. So one, we set ourselves up first. We have a business that's doing well. We have a team that's running that business. We have rental property that's cash flowing really well for us. So we're not nowhere near where we want to be, but we're in a position to where we can take a step back and focus on what our core purpose is in life. We know what the mission is, but the purpose is to help other people. So now we could take a step back and continue to build for ourselves, but also help people along that process.
Like he said, it's always been in us. I remember growing up, my mom, and we didn't have much growing up, and she's always been a go-giver. And again, it's just, what are you modeling for your kids at home? We barely had food, and sometimes when we had food on the weekend, she would make us take our food and go give it out to the homeless people on the side of the street. Me in my life, just by seeing that, I now know that I should give as a kid. Now growing up, you get to a point where you hustling and bustling, you trying to get through life, and once you're going through that, you start to become a little bit selfish, I think. But then when you get around the right people, I think that was a huge thing for us. Like, we had it in us, but when we got around the right people, we started to realize that, man, we can't impact the world. We can't do a lot of things because I think sometimes we lose sight on what our purpose is. And for us, I think we lost sight. If I could be honest, I think we lost sight at one point where we was just focused on money. And then we got to a point where it's like, you know what? It's more than just making money for ourselves. How can we really change people's lives? And for us, we didn't start. I don't think that we didn't really start creating an impact until we started on social media. Because when you start to get the messages and you think, oh, my message is not that big of a deal. It's just cool. Let me put it out there. Then once you get people to start responding, you start, wow, like that impacted you. Wow, this is much bigger than me. So now that we're getting these DMs, we realize this is way bigger than Joshua and Jeremy. What our actions and what we do for people is way bigger than us. Yeah. And I think that is a driving purpose for us now. It's way bigger than us.
Yeah, and one thing I think about too with the content side, you guys talking about it's almost it's leaving your digital footprint too. Yeah, you're telling your story. Yeah. No, there's a lot of podcasts popping up. One that I was a big fan of is The Pivot.
Yeah,
and I like that one. I am athletes. So I like listen to those stories. Yeah. But it's their whole thing is like we're letting you tell your story.
Yeah,
right. Instead of the narrative being driven, and it's like. Social media allows us to do that.
Yep.
Right. Tell our story and leave that legacy for those kids and our kids to see so they can be inspired. Right.
Correct.
So let's talk about that. Let's take a step back. Let's talk about the journey. Like you guys haven't always been owned a successful multi-million-dollar real estate investment firm. I know you weren't, so before you became this overnight success,
right.
What was the journey?
The journey was amazing.
The journey, I had 10 years.
The journey, like I wouldn't trade our journey for anything. It was super cool when we look back and think about everything that we had to get through. So just going from not having anything growing up and then wanting to go to college and going to my mom and say, Mom, we want to go to college. You guys should go, but don't ask her for help. That was okay. But it taught me that, okay, anything that I want in life, I can attain it and I can figure it out. So we went through.
But it's not to say. Let me interrupt really quick. It's not to say my mom was a bad person or she didn't want us to go to college. It was just
like she had
that she didn't matter. She and as a parent, you don't want to set your kids up for failure. So for her, it was more so of I don't want you guys to start. You go and then something come up and I can't help you at all. I'm letting you know now. Like this is something you want to do. I support you, but I can't help you at all.
Yeah. Thank you. So we went to college, worked 3 jobs, and then while we were in college, we started a custom clothing line. You can go onto our website and you can create whatever you wanted. We took this life savings that we had at the time before we brought that property from my grandmother. We took our life savings, took out some student loans, and put $20,000 into that business. It failed. At that point, we could have gave up. But for us, again, like you said, our upbringing, that ain't work. And a lot of things didn't work. So what's the next thing? And then we pivoted. We started doing promotional marketing because we saw a need in the market where people on campus, they got tired of dealing with certain vendors to do the promotional marketing for their organization. So we saw a need, we filled the need, and we was doing promotional marketing for a little bit. Then we met a mentor. Long story short, we started a cleaning company. We grew that business, then we sold it within 18 months, and we started investing in real estate 6 years ago. So people look at our story now and they don't realize everything that we had to go through. Putting $20,000 into a failed business, making okay money with the promotional marketing company.
Not even okay money.
Not even okay money. No, think about it. Starting the cleaning company, hiring and firing 29 people. 29 people within 18 months. People don't see that. And when we was doing that, we didn't have I couldn't call my uncle or my dad and say, okay, how do you hire and you fire? That was all stuff that we had to learn. We had to learn on the go. So the journey has been super, super interesting for us. These last 11 years that we've been entrepreneurs, 11, 12 years has been nothing short of exciting. And I'm super excited about our future because we've been through so much already.
We're just getting started.
Yeah, we really are getting started.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of brushed over it, but you were in college.
Yeah.
Figuring out how to pay for college and get through college, at the same time starting a business.
Yeah. Right. We all,
that's impressive.
No, we always knew that we wanted to own a business but again, it goes back to what are you modeling at home? So my granddad, before he got murdered, we just saw him doing business and we didn't understand what was happening, but we saw it. Mm-hmm. And I just always knew that I want to have my briefcase. And at the time, growing up, I wanted to own McDonald's. I wanted to be a McDonald's franchisee, but we just knew we wanted to do business. And I just truly believe, again, our upbringing, always better yourself. We came up with the idea. We didn't think whether it would work or not. Let's do it. We put some time into it. It didn't work out, and we just knew that, hey, we can't stop there. We just got to keep going until we figure it out.
But the biggest thing that I think he mentions the lessons that we've learned along the way, man. I think that's where the real value is in the journey, is the lessons. Because that business didn't work out for us, but it taught us a valuable lesson. If something is not working, you need to pivot, or you just need to move on to the next thing. Because for the custom clothing business, we stayed in it way too long. If I look back today, I'm like, man, we should have cut that, because we stayed at it for what, 2 years, 2.5 years,
like 2 years.
6 months in, it wasn't working. It wasn't working. So why wait another 1.5 years? So now we understand. So that lesson we could, have in moving forward. And then those are lessons that we can teach other entrepreneurs. And more importantly, we can teach our kids as they grow up. So if something's not working, you try to figure it out. You do everything you can to figure it out. If it's not working, it's okay to pivot. I don't want to say it's failed. You failed. We learned a lesson. That was one thing for the promotional marketing company. I think the biggest lesson we learned there is the power of relationships, because that business is was relationship based. Yeah. You can't just come in and just take business from another company if they're doing what right. But if you cultivate that relationship, you nurture that relationship, eventually that other company may, fail or not do what they're supposed to do, and you're right there. So along our journey, we've learned very important lessons. So I think that's the biggest thing about our journey.
Yeah, I mean, it's and as you guys a couple failures through there, right? Like you guys have had, and it's interesting to hear that. Yeah, so I want to come back to that. Like you mentioned in the clothing line, when you guys launched that, you're like, we stayed in 2.5 years, 6 months in, we knew it wasn't working, but and a lot of entrepreneurs do this. We're just so like, let's just keep going. I'm going to prove it wrong. And that's your competitive nature, right? What are some signs you would look for in a business now, or advice you would give that says this is a time when to pivot? Because there's a fine line between pivoting into the new thing and following shiny objects. Yeah. Right? There's a fine line, and a lot of people go, it's tough, I want to do it, I'm gonna go do something else, right? And they give up too quick. So there's a fine line between moving on, knowing when to move on, versus when it's not working, versus just going, it's tough, I don't want to do it. Mm-hmm.
It's looking at the data. And I think the data tells you everything. If we would have looked at our analytics and understood, because at the time, like 1920, when we had the custom clothing line, we had people coming to the website, but our bounce rate was so high. They'd come and they wouldn't spend that much time on the website. And in hindsight, we learned two things as far as that custom clothing line. We learned a lot, but the two key things is that people that know how to design, they don't want to really design their clothes. They just want to go and buy it. And then the second thing is that, most people, when they're shopping, they want an easy experience. They don't want to have to go in and do all of the work for them. So for us, if we would have looked at the data and realized, okay, you're getting people to the website, but they're not buying anything, either your product sucks or something's not working. If we would have saw that, then it would have been easy for us to make that decision. We was just so gung-ho trying to make it work, and it didn't. Mm-hmm. So I think if you look at the data tells you everything you need to know. Even our real estate business. This year, we look at the data. Because before we started doing deals nationwide, we was only doing deals in 2 markets, Florida and North Carolina. The data showed us, guys, you need to pivot. You need to be able to set yourself up to do deals anywhere, because the market is changing. So because of that experience, we now know, okay, look at the data and allow the data to drive your decisions.
Yep. Yeah, data, not drama.
Yeah.
Easier said than done, right?
I think as a business owner, you got to be able to make those tough decisions. You got to know when to cut people. You got to know when you need to pivot. You got to be able to make those tough decisions. So for us, a tough decision back then was stopping the business and going to something else. Now a tough decision was, okay, we got to get outside of our comfort zone and not just do deals in Florida, North Carolina. We need to open up. We need to be able to allow our teams to do deals anywhere, so that we can make money regardless of how the market is shifting.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, some markets are good, some markets are bad. Yep. And then when those markets shift, others are good, others are bad, right? It's so what's a huge failure that you guys, and it might just be what we just talked about, but a huge failure that sets you guys up for success?
That's a great question. A huge failure that set us up for success.
That happened.
I think I go back to our childhood, not having my dad there. I wouldn't say it's a failure with not having him around. because, you know, most people would use that as an excuse. And for a long time we did. Like, my dad's not around, I can't control my emotions, so on and so forth. But understanding, like, I look at it on the flip side, what if he really was around? What would my life be like? And at the time, you know, my dad was a drug dealer. So I remember enough to know that we got whatever we wanted. We asked for it. So at 4 or 5, you still remember some things. And I think about if he was still around and he continued to give us whatever we wanted, would we be who we are today? Would I have that competitive nature? Would I have that go-getter mentality where I don't care who you are, what you say, I'm going to make it happen? So I think that was one thing in our life that has set us up for what we are today.
A huge failure that I think that was very beneficial. When we first got started in real estate, we spent $55,000 on the mentor. We never left it. And is it a failure? I wouldn't say it's a failure. We took action. And
$55,000 on a credit card.
Yeah, $55,000 on the credit card. And for us, that put us in a position. We either gonna lay down or we gonna take action. So being in that debt, I think, made us take action and say, you know what, we got to figure this out. We got to get out of this debt. So when we first started, $55,000 before we ever did a deal. It was really $70,000, but that $55,000 was
down the drain.
Quick too.
Low interest rates, probably.
Woo!
It was one of those, no 18-month, no interest. So we knew in 18 months we had to figure this out to get that money paid back. That 19% interest was kicking in 18 months.
So, and with that, what's the best investment you guys have made to date that you be different, both of you, but outside of investing in yourself? So let me take that.
You got it. I was gonna say that was the easy go.
We all, as you know, I think a lot of people say that the best investment I ever made is myself, because I'm constantly trying to learn and grow and everything else. And I don't want that to go. That is common advice.
Yeah.
So what's the for you guys?
For us, it's definitely having 8 players on our team, hiring the right people, hands down for them. That has been a game changer. Because before, when we had the cleaning company, we hired and fired with 28, 29 people within 18 months. So when we started real estate, we don't want no employees. We want to do everything ourselves. 2 or 3 years into it, it was like, man,
it was just us.
It was just us. Getting burnt out, getting tired of it. And then having the right people in our circle, having the right mentors, guys, you got to build out a team. You got to multiply yourselves. So the best investment that I think we've made to date was having the right people on our team that have made the business run without us having to make all of the decisions, that have put us in a position that we went investing in our team, hands down for me.
I don't know if mentorship is considered investing into yourself, but I would say just having mentors in different areas of our life, a spiritual mentor, financial mentor, business mentor, because if you have the right mentor, man, it collapses time. It makes things so much easier. I can call, Mark and ask him questions about business. I can call
Nate and say, Nate, help me with this funnel. I
can call Pastor Terrence, who's my spiritual advisor, like, hey, man, I'm going through this. So just investing in mentorship is, been a game changer for us.
You know what, I 100% agree on that. It's because I used to always just focus solely on the business, right? Like my mentors I was hiring and paying and working with were business.
Yeah.
And then what I realized that life is more than just business.
Yep.
And then I started seeking out mentors, and then I learned too, like, wait a minute, this guy that I'm getting business advice may not be the guy to give you family advice.
Right.
No. Been divorced 3 times, great at business.
Yeah,
and I was like, but it's just not working out in that home crew, and I don't want to go that route. So that'd be my advice I need. And then even the spiritual mentor, and get more involved in our church, and having our pastors that we can communicate with has been like knowing it's faith, family, fitness. I'm far from perfect.
Yeah.
But I'm not always perfect at that, but I try.
And I think it's on my journey, I've learned that we as entrepreneurs, we as people need to learn to give ourselves grace.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're too hard on ourselves. So I give myself a lot of grace and understand that, hey, I'm growing. I'm intentional about it. I see what's going on. And we're not perfect, but if you're intentional about it and you focus on it, what you focus on grows. So when things first started off for me as a father, it was hustling. I wasn't there at all. We lie to ourselves, say, oh, I'm there. But even if I'm home, I'm on my phone, I'm on my computer, and I'm like, okay, I'll get to it. But now it's just being proactive and being intentional about it. I think a part of success is intentionality. You have to be intentional about everything that you want. So, we were talking to you yesterday, like, why do you guys have 2 phones? And it's just like, because when I get home, the business phone goes down, and my personal cell is in, my pocket just in case for emergencies. But understanding that you have to be able to let one go, so you not let one go, but put one to the side and then focus on the other. So when I get home, business to the side, focus on my kids, my family. So
yeah, we were talking about, that's why I love having an office, because I can turn it on over here, turn it off over at home. And
one thing that I've implemented at home is, first 15 minutes and this last 15 minutes. And basically what that is when I get up in the morning, after I do my routine, I spend 15 minutes of time with my girlfriend and with my kids, and like phone is to the side and I'm there, I'm listening. And then the same thing when I get home, you'll be surprised on how much you can accomplish in 15 minutes. Because when you think about it, all your wife really wants is 10 minutes of your time, is to tell you about her day. All your kids want is just 10, 15 minutes of your time. So you can sit there and listen and ask questions and engage them. It'll be game changer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One thing I want to put out there too is a lot of times people say, I remember when I was having kids, oh, your life's going to change, or, they get all like, it's kind of like this negative tone.
Yeah.
Now when people tell me they're having kids, I was like, man, I'm so excited for you.
Yeah.
Because it is change. It is change, but it's a great change.
Yeah.
Like makes us better men.
Nah, yeah.
And I mean, not just better man, but for me, man, my will to win is so much greater because I'm not doing it just for Joshua now. I'm not doing it just for Jeremy. I have somebody that's living up to me, somebody that I've brought into this world, and I owe it to them to crush it and go out and make things happen.
Yeah, definitely. So how do you guys, what's your plan for wealth building, right? I know you're wealth creators and you're helping others do the same. So business is great for cash flow, but what is some advice you can give in regards to building wealth? So a lot of companies, just and entrepreneurs, they take the cash flow of the business and they create with business and personal, and then they don't end up with any wealth built. So like, what are some strategies or things that you guys have learned over the years to be able to take that cash flow and turn it into wealth?
Number one, definitely making sure that you have a great team around you, great CPA, fiduciary, attorneys, making sure that you have the right people in your corner. Because, once you start making money, I remember the first time we had to write a check to Uncle Sam, I lost it. I ain't know what to do. I'm used to getting the refund. I gotta pay. What are you talking about? But I think the first and foremost is having a good CPA, having good attorneys, people that are really in your corner, that really want to see you grow and win. That has been game change for us. Like, there's certain times where we get into certain legal battles and we call our attorney and he tells us, guys, drop the ego. Just drop the ego, because that's ego talking right there. And let's really think about this. Is this the best decision? I think that first and foremost, you got to have a great team. And when people hear team, they always think about, okay, the people that I work with or my employees. But when I say team, CPA, lawyer, who's your marketing person? Who can you call if you need to do something in marketing? Who can you call if you need HR solutions? Like, really having a solid team of people that you can call to give you advice along the way, I think is so critical. And you pay what you pay. You pay for what you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
We've learned that the hard way as well.
Yeah.
Trying to be cheap with our CPA.
We're on the fourth one now.
We're on the fourth one now. But we're learning. So definitely having the right team. I think another thing that I would definitely advise people is delayed gratification. It's easy to make the money and go out and spend it on trying to satisfy what you want right now, but also thinking about long term. So we have a decent rental property right now. I mean, as far as cash flow, a decent rental portfolio. But we got to that point because when we first started in real estate, I wasn't trying to go out and buy nice cars. I wasn't trying to go out and get the jewelry. Like, where I'm from, I need that. I need that on my neck. But I understand in order to buy that, I want my passive income to provide for my lifestyle, but not my active income. Mm-hmm. So I think for us, we've been a conscious decision on delaying gratification and making sure that we're setting ourselves up to, God forbid something happens to me, that I still have money coming in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And see that?
No, I can agree with that. Just delaying gratification, but then taking that earn. So one thing that we put a real focused on is taking that earned income and then dumping it into buying cash flow. Like that's our new thing. How can we buy more cash flow? So whether it's buying more rental properties, investing in businesses, getting equity in certain things, like that's our focus now. How do we take that earned income and buy the cash flow so that the cash flow can provide for the lifestyle that we want to live?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that provides long term.
Yeah,
Correct.
right.
Definitely.
There. They'll work for the same dollar twice.
Right. Correct. 100%.
Okay.
So, man, this is good. So with that, I want to end on what's some advice that you would have given that you would go back and give your younger self now? Because we got younger crew watching and paying attention to some of this content. So like, what's advice you would give yourself?
For me, I'd say this all the time. You're not a product of your environment, but you're a product of your thoughts. Because for us, for a long time, I was told, oh, you grew up in the hood, you live in the hood, and this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go get a job. You're supposed to, work 30 years and get a 401k and retire. That's because of the environment that I was in. But understanding that the environment is not that important. It's more so about what you think here. And the Bible tells you, as a man thinketh, so is he. So you can think your way into success. You take action. Well, first you put in your mind, you see yourself making it happen. You create a clear plan and you take action. You can make that your reality. And I mean, we're living proof. You know our story. You know where we're from. Came from nothing, really got it out the mud into what we are now. So I think it's definitely possible. So as a man thinketh, so is he.
I would say my advice to my younger self was to remove all the distractions. I think we would be so much further if I remove the distractions. And that's from just all the dumb things and the dumb decisions that I've made that has no impact on my life now. So I would just say remove distractions, figure out what that is. Because right now, I couldn't even imagine growing up how some of the younger kids are growing up right now having social media. Like, how can you be productive in your day if like you strolling all day? We are addicted to these phones. We're addicted to these platforms. How can you really go out and create something for yourself if you are so distracted? You really think about your day, because this is something that I've been conscious of. And I even have it on my phone where I can only be on social media 30 minutes a day. Because before when I would look at look at the data, I'm looking at my screen time, and my screen time shows that for a week, Instagram 3 hours, Facebook 2 hours. You start to add it up week over week. You're taking away a lot of time that you could be being productive, building and growing, to paying attention to other people's lives. So I would just say definitely remove distractions, be focused, and set your goals and focus on your goals and less on what other people are doing.
Yeah, I think that's huge. One, social media should be production, not consumption.
Yes.
Well, and then another the challenge is so many times you see that highlight reel, you only see, even when people start talking about funnel hacking and stuff like that, you only see a piece of the business. We dove into your guys' stuff and went through like, all right, well, what's the whole back look like?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that you don't ever get to see. So when you start comparing what you're doing to other people, it becomes challenging because you don't know what they're doing, behind the scenes.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So you guys got an awesome social presence, and it's growing, and you guys are really diving into that goal of creating 1,000 millionaires, right? And then you're doing that via your social side and putting that content out and some other stuff you're doing. So where is the best place to follow you?
So right now, Instagram, Mathis Twins. That's MATHISTWINS. Mathis Twins. That's the best way to get a hold of us. Right now, we are working to build out other social platforms that what we got going on. But the best place is on Instagram. That's the best place to find.
Get there and they can
DM us. We do respond to DMs. Right now, DMs have been going crazy, like crazy. So
got fix your captions. Imagine once you fix your captions.
Right. But I would say that's the best place to get in contact with us. We do respond to DMs. Just give us some time to respond to it. But yeah, it's the best place.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you guys so much. I'm glad our paths have crossed over the years, man. To be able to sit down and do this has been great.
That has definitely been great. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you for all that you do. Like I know you sit in the corner a lot and you're quiet, but when you do talk, you you always add value, and that's one thing I appreciate about you. So I just wanted to say thank you for that.
I agree 100%.
Like, you always just quiet and you don't really talk, and then when you do talk, it's like, okay, Nate is talking, we better listen.
That's some profound shit you just said.
Yeah.
Damn, why you been holding that? What's going on?
So I thank you for real.
And thank you for having us on your platform and allowing us to share with your audience, man. We don't take this moment lightly, so thank you. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. That's everything?
We hope.